Hey, folks. The Connecticut lobbyist Leiter, okay, is the 5G lobbyist. He is Hunter Biden's lobbyist. Hunter is a lawyer registered only in Washington, D.C. and Connecticut. Why is he registered in Connecticut? And what is Chris Murphy's reaction that the Bidens are not in trouble? Because Murphy threatened the Ukraine president that if Biden was investigated on behalf of Trump, that he would withdraw all military support for Ukraine. Now listen carefully. When money is sent from America to Ukraine, it's the same lobbyist that pays Blumenthal and Chuck Schumer for 5G. Okay? Keep that in mind. Now, keep this in mind. There are problems here, and I'm going to take myself off the screen. Listen to this. I may interject. I apologize for that, but I just can't help myself.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So President Biden was in Maine on Friday to tout his recent economic successes, as we talked about with Governor Christie. Inflation's falling. This week, the GDP report was very good, but the American people are still rating the economy poorly. What's the disconnect?
Well, listen, the economy is booming right now. I mean, you're talking about
the economy is not booming. Not at all.
Employment under 4%. You're seeing a reduction in inflation that's outpacing all of our other global.
Everyone is underemployed.
Global competitors, GDP rising. You know, one of the stunning statistics from the
GDP rising. Hold on a second. When prices double, okay, and you buy less than half of what you used to buy, okay, GDP is unchanged. So when gas goes up 30% and you spend 29% less, which is exactly what's happening, GDP is up 2%. So you're buying 29% less goods, and Mr. Murphy here is destroying the currency, among other things, as DHS U.S. Senate Subcommittee Chair in charge of fentanyl, human trafficking, and we're going into human trafficking, folks. We have a huge human trafficking problem. Not going to address it here.
Second quarter is that, GDP grew by 2.5%, but 25% of that growth was due to factory construction. And so that means that this isn't just a
bullshit. He wouldn't allow Saudi Arabia to buy Connecticut arsenal weaponry, okay?
Short-term improvement in the economy. We are bringing back manufacturing jobs. We're going to be putting people back to work.
Tell that to Aiden Industries in Connecticut. Tell that to Aiden Industries, who makes products for Grumman, and the 420 other ones that make products for the end user, Boeing, Sikorsky, Electric Boat. All these contractors are effed.
In jobs that have real wages, pensions, benefits, that's a transformation of the economy, not just a Band-Aid. But
the Connecticut judiciary is allowing judges' signatures to be falsified when defense contractors are damaged by lawyers. I can prove this fact, okay? As I stated, defense contractors in Connecticut are under attack from the judiciary.
Get it. People listen to Donald Trump say that he was going to reindustrialize the economy, that he was going to bring back manufacturing jobs, and he didn't. And so there is a skepticism from the American electorate that presidents who say that they're serious about bringing good jobs back are going to do it. But I think as you continue to see these repeated quarters, these repeated good news stories about the American economy being transformed and people getting back to work, that Joe Biden's going to get credit for that. He should, because we are seeing a absolute revolution of our economy.
Revolution of our economy. Yeah, the farmers are going on strike soon. Everyone's going down to Texas, and I was offered a seat on the back of a truck.
Right now, the kind of good paying jobs that used to be the foundation of America coming back, and that's Joe Biden's policies.
This guy stole, okay? He was worth 300 grand when he was elected 11 years ago. Now he's worth $480 million. He makes $50 million a month.
I need to ask you as well about something that shook the Senate this week, and that was Republican leader Mitch McConnell, who had a health scare. He froze up at a press.
Mitch McConnell, honestly. Let's talk about Menendez taking bribes from Egypt, which Chris Murphy is the U.S. Senate Finance Foreign Relations asshole.
Press conference and stopped talking. And of course, he had recently suffered a concussion. His office says that he's going to continue to serve as leader. Have you spoken with him at all about the incident? And what was your reaction to seeing what happened?
Why would CNN ask Chris Murphy a question about Mitch McConnell?
Happened.
I have not spoken to him directly about the incident, but he was on the floor. Thursday was a long day in the Senate completing the defense bill. He looked like the old Mitch McConnell. My sense is he is very much still in control of that caucus. And though he certainly had help.
Let me just interrupt here. Sorry about that. Murphy's holding up the border bill because he wants his gun bill to pass first. So Murphy's gun bill is going to be in the border bill to take away your guns when, in fact, we are at record high surveillance. There are 30 T-38s flying around the country and a nuke sniffer going coast to coast. Nuke sniffer, coast to coast, daily. The flight activity is off the chart. Okay? And this asshole is in charge of the border. Now, hold on a second. He's responsible for fentanyl. Okay? Himes, my congressman, and Blumenthal took oxy bribes. They bought the Stanford Superior Court. Fact. And Murphy is perhaps the biggest liar of all time. Let's continue. Holding up the border deal for his own personal wealth.
Health scare. My sense is that he's back up on his feet and is going to be able to lead the Republican conference very ably going forward. No, question. I have a lot of disagreements with Mitch McConnell, but he has been one of the more effective leaders of the Republican conference in my.
Thank you, Ted Cruz, who weekly puts the dunce cap on Chris Murphy and sticks him in the corner.
Lifetime, and I expect that will probably continue at least until the end of this term.
Well, and we certainly wish Senator McConnell the best in confronting his any health challenges he may be facing. But we should acknowledge that what happened has pushed age back into the center of the political debate, including in the presidential race.
Mitch McConnell's not the dumbest tool in the box, okay? That would be Mr. Biden. And Murphy considers himself the president's spokesperson. Hold on a second. He was made promises by Hillary Clinton when that whole deal went down.
And President Biden would be 86 at the end of any second term. And this week we learned that one of your colleagues in Congress on the House side, Democratic Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota, is talking to donors about a potential primary challenge against President Biden.
Let's talk about Murphy being offered John Kerry's position, but turning it down because his position would be knocked out if Trump beat Biden. In other words, if Trump had his own, for example, Secretary of State come in, Murphy would be out of a job. So Murphy's going to run, and I'm going to challenge him, and I'm going to put up a couple million, hopefully.
And he says that that's in part because the U.S. Needs a quote unquote new generation to step up. I mean, is it wrong for Democratic voters to be concerned about the age and the health of the president going into what's absolutely going to be an incredibly demanding campaign?
Listen to this.
Well, ultimately, voters in this country care about effectiveness. They care about whether a president can do the job. I guess age is relevant if it is an indicator that a candidate isn't up to do the most important job in the world. But Joe Biden is succeeding, and succeeding at an
extraordinary job of destroying the country in just one day. Alone, of course. It was Joe Biden that did all this. Oh, yeah.
An historic rate. The amount of major legislation passed by this president, the first gun violence bill in 30 years, the first major investment in clean energy, the biggest infrastructure investment in the history of this country, all of that doesn't happen without Joe Biden. He is a master legislative tactician. He was
master tactician.
involved in a detailed way in the passage of all of those bills. I know because I wrote the gun bill and I was talking to Joe Biden on a regular basis. You pair that together with this dramatic expansion of the economy, America recovering at a faster pace than all of our other high-income competitors, and there is really zero evidence that Joe Biden can't do this job. And so I don't begrudge any of my friends in Congress from considering a presidential
I was going to say,
run.
so given all that, I mean, should Congressman Phillips run?
Well, I mean, Congressman Phillips can do whatever he wants. I don't think he will get very far because the Democratic Party is pretty enthusiastic about a president who has made historic progress on a number of priorities that we've been fighting and losing on.
Historic progress. Holy shit. See this cup? UConn falsified the audit for the Connecticut election. Okay? UConn lied for Seidel, owned by Paragon, which is Mossad. And Chris Murphy is Department of Homeland Security head in charge of CISA. CISA. That's supposed to clean the voter roll when in fact his MOU from the DMVs across this country Connecticut created 800,000 fictitious voters. Never verified. Never verified. Never verified. And then Connecticut mailed them all an absentee ballot that they can stuff in Bridgeport's mayoral race because they're not verified. They don't exist. They're not even citizens. So what is Murphy doing? He's keeping the border open for his own personal reasons. Keeping the border open for his own personal reasons. Maybe I should end this here.
For decades before Joe Biden became president. So, I mean, most incumbent presidents get some kind of primary challenge, even if it's a pretty weak one. But Joe Biden's going to be the Democratic nominee, and I don't really think anybody's going to have much of a shot at challenging him. We're going to be behind him 100%.
Fair enough, although I will say there are some polls that show that people would be willing to consider an alternative to Joe Biden. But let me go to something that you and your Democratic colleagues are working on in the Senate, and that is a code of conduct for the Supreme Court. I mean, this is something that you introduced regularly, but we did get a response this week from Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, and he said, quote, "I know this is a controversial view, but I'm willing to say it. No provision in the Constitution gives them, meaning Congress, the authority to regulate the Supreme Court, period."
Period. Right. So the fact that Himes, Murphy, and Blumenthal have leverage over Judge Roberts is amazing. They have oversight. And if you read the Linwood transcripts, they are waterboarding FBI agents, forcing them to drink kerosene and diesel fuel. And none of this is American. None of it. So if you think that Murphy does not have a challenger in the state of Connecticut, Murphy has his Dan Haars, Ken Dixons of Connecticut making false statements to smear me, which is fine because it's all going to backfire. Why? You'll find out. Please follow, share, and listen carefully to what's about to occur. What is about to occur. And be my witness. I might need your affidavit, as a matter of fact.
What do you think he is saying there, and what is your response?
First of all, it's just stunningly wrong. And he should know that more than anyone else, because his seat on the Supreme Court exists only because of an act passed by Congress. It is Congress that establishes the number of justices on the Supreme Court. It is Congress that has passed in the past requirements for justices to disclose certain information. And so it is just wrong on the facts to...
Excuse me. The lawsuit that he is in with me, Flynn versus Blumenthal, Murphy, Himes, Schumer, Gillibrand, all these assholes, they have control of Judge Meyer. Blumenthal has a signed confidentiality agreement with Judge Meyer, who has refused 10 grand juries. Why? Because Connecticut did away with grand juries, I think, in 1948. I'm accusing them of stealing sniper rifles and selling them to the Libyan army. Stealing 1 million rounds of .408 armor-piercing bullets and stealing them without a license, okay? The guy with the license is in a coma, and they robbed him. Then they took his $30 million home, which he had $16 million in equity, and it's going on and on and on. They're stealing patents. They're robbing people with no mortgages, and the judges in Connecticut own the mortgage mills. So I'll put this video out on a Sunday, and I'll have a judge contact the DA, who will contact an attorney working for me and tell me to take them down. So you only have 1 day to share this video, because tomorrow I'll get a call when the court's open to take the video down. So they are taking away my First Amendment right, which is your right to learn what the hell is going on. Got it? Because we are so far ahead of the curve on these items that it's not funny. I got a pocket full of kryptonite, folks, and I'm gonna use it. Have a great day. I think we should end it there.